Right, so I'm just going to set it to record, and basically what I'll do is we'll talk through your website, things you can add, which we've kind of already done. So it's nothing like majorly new. It's just so that you've got things to sort of look back on and recap on. Also, it then means that sort of they can see that I'm doing these sort of things with you, and it's not just me saying I am. And it then also counts towards your sort of evaluation things. So when you get the video, when I send it to you, what I want you to do is just like do a quick summary of it, put it up on your website in evaluation section, do a summary of it, and then think of like targets based on it as to what you're going to do and how you're going to achieve them. Yeah?
Yeah.
So what I can do is I've got your website here. So we'll start at the beginning. So you've got your project proposal form all filled out. Has the timetable bit been filled out? Yep, good, nice. Then we'll look at your research section. So obviously you've started the research, you've got your SWOT, which is really good. You've sort of gone through your ideas and getting some first-hand feedback. So that's primary research, which is good. You've looked at a couple of games and things like this. Have you, what I would suggest from this, from reading a couple of paragraphs, try and relate, if you want to push for higher grades, try and relate to how it's going to influence your work. So like this is quite an interesting one. So the fact that it's made by one person alone, sort of, it would be quite good if you reflected on how that's the sort of stuff you could aim for, or like the level you could aim for, which are a really good sort of understanding that you're doing it alone basically, and you don't want to just expect the best thing possible.
Yeah.
And like some of the designs and color schemes. So like this is sort of similar to what your color scheme is so far, isn't it?
Yeah. So
you can like sort of reflect on
the
it.
reference down there.
Yeah.
One below.
Down here, or
no, the fourth video. That's what the reference is. I'm going basically.
Yeah. Okay. So make sure you're
changing it.
Pointing it out in here, basically.
Yeah.
So like this is a good example. You've started to do it here, but try and do it for some of the other bits as well.
Right. Yeah.
So that's all really good. For research as well, obviously, because you're doing sort of an animation a bit more now, this sort of stuff is really good.
Yeah.
Keep looking for things like that about every little thing, because obviously there's a lot of input of people that have done for animate like research. There's also books which we've probably got in the library. I'd say go and have a look. It's called the Animation Toolkit, I think. And basically it tells you all about sort of walk cycles and things, which is really good. So it's
definitely going to make sure
have a look. You can find some of them.
Definitely going to take a read through that and then jot some notes down.
Yeah, definitely, and just take pictures of pages that are helpful. So if I show you Jack's quickly, Jack's I can. So yeah, cool. So on Jack Wick's page, he's got some like pictures from it, for example, which give you an idea. So in his research, so he's looking at walk cycles, which are kind of similar to how you've looked at hair. So when we get down to, if I can find it, hopefully it's on this page. Oh, yeah, so like here. So like it goes through how you make things walk in each step and things like that, and how it's just a loop of the same movement over and over again, essentially.
Yeah.
And then this is like a beat sheet. So like something like this would be quite good for your things. And basically you figure out how many frames are in between each key pose. So yours might be hair left, hair right. Well, hair left, hair mid, hair right, hair left, hair mid. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could start doing some of these. These would be really high sort of good things for you to be sketching out really roughly and putting onto your website in your planning, production and planning stages. And then obviously, as we spoke about, make sure you're putting in your like processes and stuff in there. So if we move on to this. So you've got your mind maps, which is good. You've started to put some processes and design things in here, which is good. What would be quite nice is explaining why you've chosen like the style of hair and things like that. So you could do some like character research and always do like a character mood board of what you want your characters to look like. Does that make sense? A bit like if you were to dress an actor, you'd do it with all their clothes. You do that as well as their hair and their things like that. So that would be really good. I'm trying to think if anyone's got a really good example of their character design, but I can't think of anyone at the moment. But that'll all be good. Things like this need to keep happening, keep putting everything up there. I'd also, what is really interesting, as Noah pointed out, is the fact that you watch it while you're working on it. Put that up, put a screen grab of how you have your screen laid out, and explain it so you can see it while you're doing it and notice the issues before, without like doing loads of it and then realizing that you've got to change something. Because as animators do that, animators will sit and flick through the whole thing like every time they do a frame just to check is right. Because it's easier to fix it then and there than move the puppet a million more steps and then realize that that step back there is wrong.
Yeah,
because you've got to somehow go
what
back.
I've done is I've just got the basic Pascal thing just open and then shortened it a bit to the right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah. So frame.
and then
take
up
a
on
screen
the
grab.
top
Explain
left.
that.
Yeah, top left. I've got like the thing, like the animation
The preview,
playing.
yeah.
Like just playing permanently. Just keep flicking back and forth.
Yeah. No, it's really good, and
by
that's how to
itself,
do it
and it just
basically.
helps me see if there's any.
And then
any
again as well, you can also use that screenshot and then explain what the tools do in Pascal.
Yeah.
And like be like, this is the mount, the selection tool, this is the paint tool, this is the onion skin layer tool, which I think you learned about. Was that you yesterday? Someone said to me they learned about it. Where
Layers.
so you can see the other layers underneath.
Yeah, no,
like the one before.
Yeah.
So you can put that up on here and stuff. Because what you're doing is really good, but we need to see more of it on here because I know you're doing it. I can see it. But if the external examiner sees it, they're not going to know that you learned that and we're using it, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And try and make it sort of clearly defined if they're separate sections, just to keep it clear. Maybe with titles and things like that as to what they are.
Yeah.
So like onion skinning or layering tool would be for that one that we just spoke about. In terms of, you might also, because you're doing like a sort of cinematic type animation-y thing, I would suggest you make some storyboards as well.
I actually did start working on that before the holiday.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot about it because
So you can put them up and then you can always revisit them and add to them.
I was gonna go back to it the Wednesday that I was in, and you just sat me in that room there.
Yeah.
I was gonna go back to it on that day, but those computers didn't have access to not Notepad, Sketchbook for some reason.
Yeah, okay, no, they don't. Not all the computers have it installed on. So yeah, you can go back to that and do that and put that up because that's obviously good planning and production stuff. And then yeah, I think it's more a case of we need to increase the research, which you've started doing today, which is really good, and keep adding to those sort of things and relating to your work, and then just show everything you're doing in production and practical. Don't just assume that you just show us the final product, basically.
Yeah.
But I think you're doing well, and I think keep pushing on it. You seem to be enjoying it, which is nice because that's the whole point. This is what you do, what you want, and we just help you, sort of thing. So I think keep going, keep up. I'll quickly explain the other thing to you. So the thing you're missing, you haven't got your grading matrix on here, which is just, again, I'll choose Jack's because it's probably on there somewhere. This, which is here. So just this is how we mark. Each topic is a section that they want us to mark you on. And in each box underneath the grade is what you need to do to achieve that.
Oh, okay.
Pretty simple.
I swear I put that in somewhere.
Yeah, I think you were here when we did it. But if not, it's there. You can copy it and put it up. I think I've got it on the Teams page.
I don't remember where I put it, but I do remember moving it somewhere.
So the other thing to think about is the way that they work is it's called skills mastery. So to get a merit, you have to achieve all of these in a merit. If one is lower, you only get a pass. So this is why I'm saying sort of like all the areas we need to work on is because we don't want to just forget about research.
Yeah.
And it drag you down to a pass. Yeah. Or drag you down to a fail because that's even worse. But yeah, I think sort of how you're developing and how you're working, if we can see it, I think you could be aiming for a merit. And obviously that's sort of worst case, you end up with a pass in that case. Whereas I don't want you to just sort of sit back and aim for a pass. But I think that's sort of a good route. And I will stop recording right here and I'll send this to you. And then, as I said, just write a little paragraph to summarize it and how you're going to move on from it. Yeah? Cool. Let me see if I can figure out how to stop recording. There we go.